if you have anything, come out as fast as possible and get it to any detachment or any police service that you have available to get to talk to. And Jack just absolutely loves bugs, dinosaurs, anything like that. But Lily loves girly things, but she also loves doing everything with Jack, bugs. They're like best friends, not just brother and sister. Still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her backpack or any of her belongings at all. They just haven't found anything.
On the morning of May 2nd, 2025, the rural community of Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, awoke to the calm of a typical spring day. The air was cool and still, the trees heavy with new leaves, and children's laughter echoed faintly across open fields. Inside a modest country home, 6-year-old Lilly Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack played in their yard, under the gentle watch of their mother, Lilly Brooks Murray. It was the kind of quiet, trusting place where families left their doors unlocked and life moved at a slower pace. But within moments, that peace shattered. When Lilly looked out the window again, the children were gone. There were no sounds, no cries for help, just an eerie stillness. At 2:16 p.m., she placed a frantic call to police, reporting that her children had vanished. Within 26 minutes, RCMP officers arrived at the scene, marking the beginning of one of the most haunting and heartbreaking searches in Canadian history. At 2:16 p.m., the Royal Canadian Mounted Police received a desperate call from Lilly Brooks Murray, her voice shaking as she told dispatchers that her 2 young children, Lilly, aged 6, and Jack, just 4, had vanished from their yard. She said they had been playing outside only minutes earlier, their laughter still echoing in her ears when she realized the yard had fallen silent. Within 26 minutes, RCMP cruisers were racing down the quiet back roads of Lansdowne Station, their sirens piercing the calm of the rural landscape. Officers arrived to find a scene both ordinary and terrifying, toys scattered across the grass, a small pink jacket draped over the porch railing, and no sign of the children anywhere. What began as a routine missing persons call was already turning into something far darker. Behind the Sullivan home stretched a vast expanse of dense forest, thick with tangled underbrush and towering spruce trees. As daylight began to fade, the area became the center of an urgent, all-out search. RCMP officers, joined by local volunteers and trained rescue teams, fanned out through the woods, their shouts echoing in the silence. Police dogs were released to track any scent, while drones buzzed overhead, their cameras scanning from above for the smallest sign of movement. Helicopters circled low, their searchlights cutting through the canopy like white spears in the mist. Yet even with all their technology and manpower, the terrain worked against them. The brush was so thick that some searchers could barely see the ground beside their boots. Branches clawed at their clothing, visibility dropped to almost nothing, and every shadow seemed to hold the answer they couldn't find. Then, after days of searching, came the first real discovery. Deep in the brush, nearly 1 kilometer from the Sullivan home, a searcher spotted something caught in the low branches of a fallen tree, a small pink blanket, faded and dirty from the rain. It was unmistakably Lilly's, the same one she carried everywhere, embroidered with tiny white stars. For a brief moment, hope surged through the rescue teams. Radios crackled, searchers called out, and the area was sealed off as investigators rushed in. Could this be the sign they had been waiting for, proof the children were still nearby? But as hours passed and the search expanded outward, nothing more was found. The trail, and that fragile sense of hope, ended where the blanket lay, fluttering softly in the forest breeze. Days turned into weeks, and the once hopeful search for Lilly and Jack began to twist into something darker. As exhaustion and grief set in, tension grew inside the Sullivan home. Lilly Brooks Murray and her partner, Daniel Martel, quietly separated just days after the children disappeared, a personal fracture that soon became public. What followed was a storm of speculation online. Social media feeds filled with accusations, theories, and blame. Strangers dissected every detail of the couple's lives, turning tragedy into entertainment. Some accused the parents of hiding the truth, others claimed the RCMP had failed them. In the chaos of hashtags and comment threads, empathy was drowned out by judgment. The internet had become a courtroom without evidence, where everyone was a witness, a prosecutor, and a judge. Weeks of silence from police only fueled more questions. News outlets began speculating, social media exploded with theories, and the public demanded answers. To many, the lack of updates felt like neglect, a sign that the case had gone cold. But behind closed doors, the reality was very different. Inside the RCMP command center, investigators continued working day and night, combing through thousands of tips, reviewing hours of surveillance footage, and reanalyzing every piece of evidence. Forensic teams ran tests on soil, fibers, and even the pink blanket found near the forest, searching for any microscopic clue that might lead them to Lilly and Jack. To the public, the silence felt empty, but to investigators, it was the sound of discipline. They knew that one wrong statement could compromise the entire case. While the world grew restless, detectives quietly mapped search grids, questioned neighbors again, and reconstructed every movement from that morning. Meanwhile, the children's mother, Malihia Brooks Murray, and her partner, Daniel Martel, endured the weight of not knowing. Each day without news became harder than the last. The silence wasn't absence, it was persistence, unfolding behind locked doors and sleepless eyes, in the hope that somewhere within that quiet, the truth was waiting to be found. For many in Nova Scotia, the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan felt painfully familiar. It reopened an old wound, one that had never fully healed. In 2020, 3-year-old Dylan Ely vanished from his rural home near Truro. It was a quiet April morning, much like the day Lilly and Jack disappeared. Dylan had been playing outside in his red snowsuit while his mother prepared lunch. When she called his name moments later, there was no answer. Within hours, the community launched a massive search, neighbors, firefighters, and police combing through woods, creeks, and farmland. They found his tiny rubber boots, sitting neatly near a marshy patch at the edge of the property, but no Dylan. That case haunted Nova Scotians for years. Despite drones, divers, and cadaver dogs, not a single confirmed trace of the boy was ever found. Some believed he wandered into the water and was swept away. Others whispered darker theories, about strangers, abductions, even cover-ups. What remained was a deep fracture of trust between the public and the RCMP. Many still felt the investigation had moved too slowly, that crucial hours were lost while authorities debated whether Dylan was truly missing or had simply wandered off. So, when Lilly and Jack vanished 5 years later, the emotions weren't new, they were reignited. Online forums filled with comparisons, "This is Dylan all over again." Same silence, same mistakes. News anchors replayed old footage of volunteers searching the muddy fields for Dylan, now intercut with drone shots of the dense forest behind the Sullivan home. The tone was eerily similar, heartbreak mixed with déjà vu. For Nova Scotians, it wasn't just about two missing children anymore. It was about trust, accountability, and the fear that history was repeating itself. The same questions rose again: were the police too cautious? Did bureaucracy cost precious time? And would this investigation, like Dylan's, end in unanswered grief? As one journalist put it during a live broadcast outside Lansdowne Station, "We've been here before, same forests, same faces, same uncertainty. And if the system failed Dylan, people fear it might be failing again." The disappearance of Lilly and Jack wasn't an isolated tragedy. It was the echo of another, a reminder that in small, tightly knit communities, one lost child is never just one story. It becomes part of a collective memory, a wound that time refuses to close. From everything I've seen, the RCMP have done everything possible in this case. Officers have searched through dense forests, drained ponds, analyzed digital footprints, and followed every credible lead, no matter how small. The frustration people feel is real and understandable. Weeks of silence can feel like indifference. But investigation isn't theater. It's built on patience, precision, and facts that can stand in court. The public deserves answers, and so do these children's families, but real answers come from evidence, not speculation. No press conference, no rumor, and no viral post can replace the hard, methodical work being done behind the scenes. Every statement the police make must be measured, every update verified. Because in cases like this, one careless detail can destroy months of effort, or worse, compromise justice. What may seem like silence is often the sound of a team refusing to give up until they can bring the truth, and hopefully the children, home. Months later, the woods of Lansdowne Station still hold their silence, a heavy, unsettling quiet that seems to echo the unanswered questions haunting Nova Scotia. The search zones, once alive with the sounds of helicopters, barking dogs, and shouts of volunteers, are now calm again. The posters of Lilly and Jack, once bright and hopeful, are faded and torn by wind and rain. But for investigators and the community, this silence doesn't mean closure, it means absence. The case remains open, active, and deeply personal for everyone involved. Detectives continue to retrace every step, re-examine evidence, and follow up on every lead that surfaces, no matter how distant or faint. Cadaver dogs have returned to the area multiple times. Forensic teams have rechecked old clues, from soil samples to digital data. Every few weeks, a new rumor ignites online, only to fade under the weight of fact. Still, the hope remains, fragile but unbroken. For the families, life has frozen in time since that day in May. Birthdays have passed without candles, school years have begun without backpacks waiting by the door. The mother, Malihia Brooks Murray, still pleads for compassion as the internet continues to pick apart her every move. Daniel Martel, the children's stepfather, has largely withdrawn from public view. What unites them now is grief, and the unbearable uncertainty of not knowing, and so, the forest stands, vast, dark, and unchanged. The same trees that once shaded the Sullivan backyard now guard their secrets. Investigators believe that somewhere within those woods, or beyond them, lies the truth about what happened to Lilly and Jack Sullivan. Whether that truth brings heartbreak or hope, no one can yet say. But one thing is certain, this case is far from forgotten. Somewhere out there, beneath the whispering pines of Lansdowne Station, the truth still waits to be found.